All right. Hey, welcome everybody to Two Women Talking. I'm Natalie, and along with Sarah, we just love to bring cool topics, whether they're health related or mindset related. That's kind of our jam, to you so that you can maybe learn something, that a little life hack that'll make your life easier, better, not so frustrating. Because let's face it, there's so much information coming at us today that Sarah and I thought this would be a fun game to play. So Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself and then I will introduce myself.
Okay, I'm Sarah DeCiccio. I'm a certified holistic health coach, and my specialty is gut health. So if you want to learn more about me, head over to my website, www.findingyourwellspot.com.
And my name is Natalie Stratton. Everything you need to know about me is under my website, nataliestratton.com. And I'm just a mindset girl. I'm passionate about empowering, especially women. And I'm a mom of 3 kids. And I have the fortune of working from home and doing fun things like this with people like Sarah. So let's get going, Sarah, on the topic, which is basically, you said last week to me about kids, you'll say sometimes stop crying. And what happens at a biological level. You've been doing some research on that. So let's talk about what that means, because I think that's an important subject.
It is interesting because I don't know, like I had fabulous parents, and I'm not bashing any parent for that matter, because we all do the best that we can. Mm-hmm. I was always told, like, stop crying. You don't need to cry over that. It's so small, like suck it up kind of thing, right? And of course that's ingrained in me now. So if I see my kids crying over nothing, I'm like, stop crying. There's nothing to cry over. Just get over it. Get up, dust yourself off, you're fine. And it was interesting because I was picking my daughter up at dance, and one of the little girls was starting to cry. And it was because she was panicking because she has anxiety that someone was not there to pick her up. So my reaction was, well, it's nothing. Someone is coming. They're just like 2 minutes late. So I was like, stop crying. It's nothing to cry over. You're safe. You're fine. I'm here. We'll make sure someone's picking you up. We won't leave you alone, right? And so she like stopped crying and sucked it up a bit. And then I was thinking later, I was talking to my auntie, who's a nurse, and she also grew up with that same mindset. Stop crying. You just hold it in. And she said, I just learned something. You're not supposed to tell children, or anyone for that matter, to stop crying. Because when you tell them to stop crying, they don't get to balance out like all the chemicals in their body. So basically it spikes your cortisol levels, which is your stress levels. And if they're really unbalanced, so if you're already stressed and then you're holding in emotion, then eventually it can lead to more serious things such as like high blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, or obesity, which is crazy when you think about like holding in your tears. So actually, when you cry, there's research that shows when you cry, it actually flushes out the toxic chemicals out of your body and then rebalances your cortisol levels. And that's all from crying. So I found that really interesting. So instead of saying, stop crying to a kid, especially a child with anxiety, you should maybe say, like, why are you crying? Like, ask them good questions. Well, I'm crying because I don't feel like anyone's picking me up. Okay, well, we know that's not true because, you know, your grandma or your mom is picking you up. Okay, yes. So I know that you don't need to be scared because you're in a safe place, right? Yes, I'm in a safe place. And I will sit and wait with you. Okay. And then like you can calm them down and like talk them through it. And I did that with my son. He was crying over spelling words because he hates practicing spelling words. And I usually say, stop crying. It's just spelling words. Get over it. And now I was asking him questions. Okay, why are you crying? Do you think this is how we should be doing it? And like coming up with the strategy. And he just like stopped on his own. And everything was fine. It wasn't like it escalated or like you're being so mean and I hate spelling words. So it was a huge learning moment for me because that's been ingrained in me for many, many years. Just stop crying and hold it in. And even in public situations, right? Where like you could feel emotion coming on and you're like, okay, think of something else. Like don't cry because you're going to look like a baby, right? We have that mentality. And it shouldn't be that. It should be like you should be able to express emotion without any judgment. And there's studies like, so I want to just read this about tears. So I thought this was really interesting. 88.8% of people, oops, I can't minimize it. Well, it's saying the study is like 88.8% of people feel better after they actually cry. On average, women cry 47 times a year compared to men who it's 7 times a year. And I just thought it's kind of true because I think about me and my husband, how many times I cry compared to he never cries. So I just thought, well, isn't that interesting? And so basically, I think the message I'm trying to get out here is that the mantra to children to be brave and suck it up and stop crying may not be the best route.
Yeah.
Think about some of the consequences that are happening. And if you look at our children today in schools where they are suffering from depression, or they're suffering, a lot of kids suffer from anxiety, and I've never been exposed to that, so I have a hard time. Like, I want to learn how to deal with it. So if I am in the school and some child is struggling, I want to be able to deal with it in a proper way. So that was my first step. I am not going to tell someone to stop crying, because again, it's their way to release some of that cortisol and some of those toxic chemicals in their body to just make them feel balanced again.
Nice. I think this is such a cool message. Share this, you guys, with other moms, especially out there that maybe have that mantra that's been handed down to them just because of it. It's not right or wrong, it just is. But yeah, for sure, that's important information. And I think that also is just a way of honoring that person too, or that child. You know, it's like I always say, I don't tell people to stop laughing. Why would I tell them to stop crying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. When you think about that, it's true. We never tell anyone to stop laughing.
Yeah. So it's part of the human condition, and it's about honoring that person where they're at, and obviously not letting them get out of control if you're a mom and a child, but just, you know, having the respect to keep their dignity intact too, so that they don't grow up as adults that have kept everything in and are so afraid. In the work I've done, I see people so afraid because if they believe that if they start crying, they'll never stop. It's fascinating. Yeah. Well, thank you, Sarah. Is there anything else you'd like to add? I think this is such a good topic.
No.
Well, if you want to know more, reach out to Sarah, anybody, or just pass this along, because I think this is a great little tidbit of information from a biochemical way, especially because your cortisol is not our friend at high levels over long periods of time. And you're right, anxiety is on the rise, and we do need to be talking about that subject more and more. Mental health is definitely, you look what's happening globally right now, it needs to be talked about.
That's right.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. See you, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.